and 1043 in Wyomissing, 1046 in Reading.
If you are just joining us now on CBS3, we have been in coverage on the CW Philly. Kate is joining us now with the latest on a tornado warning for western Berks County.
And that includes the city of Reading, correct?
It does. It's at least West Reading. It kind of almost bisects the city of Reading, so it could be extended, but it does include at least part of the city of Reading. So again, Burnville, Cumru, Reading. It's right over Womelsdorf right now, so if you're familiar with that area, if you're familiar with Cocalico Township there, it is moving through within the next few minutes in these areas. Again, this is a radar-indicated tornado. Was showing some broad rotation on the radar picture here. At the very least, a strong signature for strong, damaging, straight-line wind gusts in excess of 65 or 70 miles an hour. But as we pull out on this line of storms, you can kind of see what we're looking at here. This line almost has a little bit of a bend in it. So oftentimes when you see that, this is a very linear structure, these storms moving through. But every once in a while, you'll see these storms, these lines start to just bow a little bit. And oftentimes when they do that, like right here, that's when one cell right at the bend, right at the corner of that line can develop a little bit of rotation within it. And that's what we're likely seeing on the radar imagery right now in portions of Berks County. So let's bring you back to that warning. Again, you can see that cell moving through Upper Tulpehocken right now, headed toward West Reading. There is a severe thunderstorm warning for almost all of Berks County right now, but also a tornado warning, and it is that one little cell you see here. Let's zoom in on it, and you see the shape of it. This is what we look for, this comma shape right here. It's moving east at about 35 miles per hour. My drawing skills there, not so great, but 1031 right now near Tulpehocken, 1033 Womelsdorf, Summit View by about 1034, Charming Forge by 1036, Robosonia 1037, and then North Heidelberg by about 1041 tonight. So this is a radar indicated tornado moving east at about 35 miles per hour. And again, this is embedded within a line of very strong thunderstorms moving through. The severe thunderstorm warning for all of Berks County also has mentioned that a tornado is possible in that area. And again, this is the strongest cell we've seen really all night. We also have a couple of flash flood warnings, especially for the Lehigh Valley right now, right here up across the Lehigh Valley. And of course, flooding not generally as but again, the more emergent situation right now is the tornado warning for portions of western Berks County. So once again, if you are in any of these cities, I'm going to read out some towns here: Wyomissing, Sinking Spring, Laureldale, Womelsdorf, Robosonia, Burnville, Spring Ridge, Reading, Shillington. Any of these areas are in a tornado warning right now. If you have heard your town name called out, you have to get to safe shelter immediately. That is a basement or an interior away from windows, the safest place to be. A powder room is a good place to go. A closet is a good place to go. And we know, especially with what we saw last week with Ida, a tornado warning is nothing that you want to wait around, wait and see. It may not hit our area. If you are in that tornado warning box, you have to get to safe shelter immediately, as quickly as you can, because this is not something to mess around with. Hopefully we're not going to see a tornado. Hopefully it is just radar indicated rotation, but there is a good chance that this cell is producing a tornado on the ground. And we won't know it until we see if it caused any damage, if we go back and reevaluate throughout the day tomorrow. So a tornado warning, again, if you're just joining us, this is a tornado warning for western Berks County. You can see that polygon right there. It's right along Route 222, 422. So that is a pretty active stretch of road there, 422 between Womelsdorf and Reading. Generally speaking, this time of night, probably not as busy as it would be in the middle of the day, but a lot of people probably out on the roads this evening in that area. And this cell is moving right along Route 422 there, from basically in between North and South Heidelberg right now. So if you are in Heidelberg, this cell is coming through your area right now. Will likely get to Reading within the next 15 or 20 minutes, possibly even sooner. Let's actually draw this out and see just how long it's going to take before this gets to Reading. It'll be in Reading by about 10:51. So that's about 15, 16, 17 minutes from now, this cell moving over Reading, and hopefully will weaken by that point. But if you are in the city of Reading, you want to move now, act now, seek shelter immediately, head to a basement, head to an interior room, get away from windows, because this is a very dangerous cell moving through. And as we know, even if the cell is not producing a tornado, it very likely is producing damaging straight line wind gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning in parts of the area as well. So even, again, if this does not produce a tornado, it is going to produce likely some damage. We have had reports of damage in the Poconos earlier tonight, trees blown down, wires blown down. This looks like the strongest cell we've seen so far this evening over western Berks County, and that's why that radar indicated tornado was picked up. What we look for is the velocity signature on the radar to show that there is rotation in the wind field. And even though this is a linear structure, it goes to show that even if you have a line of storms, which traditionally don't produce tornadoes, in the right environment with enough wind shear in the atmosphere like what we've had today, a tornado can form even embedded within a quasi-linear structure like what we have tonight. So once again, western Berks County, including the cities of Bern, Bernville, Kenhorst, also Robesonia, also Womelsdorf, Heidelberg, and eventually the city of Reading as well in this tornado warning. This goes until 11 o'clock. We just got an update from the National Weather Service continuing that tornado warning as of 10:33, so about 2 minutes ago. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Fairview Heights. Fairview Heights are 7 miles northwest of Reading, moving east at 35 miles per hour. So if you are in Fairview Heights, or you know someone that is, someone that may be sleeping and may not have their phone alarm, have their phone next to them, have the tornado alerts set on their phone, please let everybody know if you're in this area. Heidelberg, again, Fairview Heights, into the city of Reading. It's moving very quickly, 35 miles per hour to the east. We'll take this out one more time and show you exactly where this is headed next. If you're in Reading by about 10:47, 10:51, this potential tornado is going to be right on top of you. So this is producing, again, not only the threat for a tornado, but also straight line winds. There's very likely some large hail with this as well. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull up the hail tracks and the shear tracks just to see what there is to see with this particular cell. So bear with me here as we take some of these off. Here's our hail tracks. Not seeing too much hail. We haven't had too many reports of hail, but you can see there's the purple. That's an indication of large hail with this cell that came down near Tulpehocken and is moving east. Our shear track is what would indicate a potential tornado on the ground. And again, we're not seeing too much of an indication of shear. There are a couple of little, you can see these little yellow blips on the radar picture there, but not a ton of rotation happening as we speak, which is good news. However, that doesn't mean there's not a tornado on the ground right now. So we'll pull up the warnings once again. And right now we do have that tornado warning still in effect for western Berks County. That goes until 11 o'clock tonight. It does include the city of Reading. It includes Maiden Creek. This was moving through Fairview Heights at about 10:33, moving east at 35 miles per hour. If you're in the city of Wyomissing, if you're in Sinking Spring, if you're in Laureldale, Wernersville, Robesonia, Leesport, any of these spots, you should be in your basement, away from windows, in a safe space. If you're in an apartment building, an interior room away from windows, the best place to be in a situation like this as these storms start to move through.
Kate, how do these images that we are looking at right now compare to the images you were looking at 1 week ago?
That's a great question, actually. You know, when we were watching Ida's remnants come through, we saw some of the most clearly defined supercells that we've ever seen in the Philadelphia area. What it looked like on radar and what we saw in photos in real life looked like the kind of supercell thunderstorm you would see form out in Kansas or Oklahoma. And I never want to downplay another potential tornado, but it doesn't quite have that textbook appearance to it. But as we know, it doesn't need to have a textbook appearance for a tornado to touch down and cause damage. Is it likely an EF3 tornado like what we saw in New Jersey? Quite likely no, but any tornado can cause damage and threat to lives and property. So it is a little bit of a different structure. You know, with a tropical system like what we saw with Ida, you get these supercells that rotate in these outer bands that come through and you get a bunch of rotation. This is more of a squall line with embedded supercells, which is a little bit of a different structure, but a tornado is a tornado and produces the same threat and the same amount of damage. So definitely not as widespread of a risk for a number of tornadoes, but it is a very strong line of thunderstorms moving into an environment where the conditions are ripe for tornadoes. But I'll tell you, it really speaks to just how wild this summer has been around here in the weather pattern, because generally speaking at 10, 11 o'clock at night, when it's not all that hot, it wasn't 95 degrees today, the conditions generally aren't great for tornadoes and even severe thunderstorms to form. But the environment just seems like it wants to storm around here. We've got a lot of instability. There was a lot of wind shear today. That's why we had that increased risk for a tornado issued by the Storm Prediction Center. And now we've seen our first tornado warning issued for our area tonight. And once again, if you're just joining us, this is an active tornado warning for western Berks County near Reading, with this cell moving through. I'm going to see if I can pull up our velocity, but this is right on the edge of our radar beam, so it's tough to see the velocity with this to see if there's any sort of a rotation being noted. You can see some broad rotation, but it's not quite as clear as it would be closer to the radar site, which for our area, we generally use the one in Fort Dix, New Jersey. It's a little tougher to see the velocity on this one, but we'll pull it up and see if we can see anything as far as the velocity is concerned. Doesn't look like we're seeing. You can see the edge of the beam there, and what I mean is you can see where the radar site is, and what we're looking for is green and red embedded within each other, but we are not able to really access that part of our region on this particular radar beam where we have the sweeping radar. So this is, again, a radar indicated tornado. We're not really able to pull up the velocity on it, but it's moving east at about 35 miles per hour. Again, we'll track this out and see if the times have changed on this. Again, still about 10:41, so within the next 10 to 15 minutes in Reading, likely going to see this cell moving through. It does have a potential tornado with it. If you are in Fritztown, if you're in Center, if you're in Spring, Wyomissing, within the next 5 to 10 minutes, this line is going to come through. Maiden Creek as well. You can see on the upper edge of it, there's very heavy rainfall and the potential for large hail. There's also a lot of dangerous lightning with this cell as well as it moves eastward. So western Berks County, if you're in this area, you should be in an interior room or basement away from windows, as an active tornado warning has been issued. It's interesting because just a little bit further south of this, we've got this line of storms moving through Lancaster County and York County, and those are not even severe. Those are sub-severe storms. It's really just this one little bend in the line. You can see it as we kind of zoom out. There's that little bow echo, that little bowing segment, as we call it. And again, I'll circle that for you so you can see what I mean. You can see how it just has a little bit of an arch to it, and every once in a while you'll get a storm embedded within a line of thunderstorms, embedded within a squall line it's able to just take on a little bit of rotation if it's in a high shear environment. Even though it's, you picture a squall line coming through, all these storms are pretty much a line, they're all together, they're moving at the same speed, but every once in a while one can be a little bit of an overachiever, gain some rotation, and then start to adjust the shape of that line as it moves through. And that's what we're seeing with this cell here in Berks County, exhibiting some rotation, a possible tornado moving through. If not, a bowing segment like that does have the capacity to produce wind gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour, even just straight line winds in this area, which is incredibly dangerous as well. Can do damage to homes, can blow roofs off a house. Tornadoes certainly can do the same and more. So at the very least, we're looking at damaging straight line winds. At worst, we're looking at a potential tornado on the ground in western Berks County this evening. So if you're in this area until 11 o'clock, we remain under this tornado warning for this cell moving east at about 35 miles per hour. I'm going to try to look on an app that I have that kind of tracks the velocity scans just a little bit more clearly, and it does still have some detectable rotation, what I'm seeing right here, and it's between really east of northeast of Heidelberg, north of Wernersville, and headed towards Spring Ridge. Looks like the worst of the rotation right now. South Temple as well, and very quickly toward Reading and Shillington. So there is still a bit of a velocity signature, a bit of a rotation signature with this cell. You can see that the warning has been scaled back as the storm moves east. It's no longer in effect for all of western Berks County. It's just this small area, which does encompass the city of Reading, which does include 422, which does include 222, Muhlenberg, Spring, Heidelberg. And again, you can very clearly see where that bow shape is. This hook you see right here, that's going to be the strongest wind. So even if we're talking straight line winds, this bow, as it moves right along 222, right through the city of Reading, is very likely producing some incredibly strong, dangerous winds. Straight line winds in excess possibly of 70 miles per hour possible with this cell, and it's moving east at 35 miles per hour. So the entire region is under a severe thunderstorm watch, but just in that one hook shape, that one edge, there is the potential that we do have some rotation happening right now in the city, near the city of Reading, and in portions of western Berks County. So it's a tornado warning, western Berks County, also a severe thunderstorm warning surrounding that tornado warning, because even north of there, where you don't have the potential rotation, you have severe thunderstorms which are firing through portions of northern Berks County. And we now have a flash flood warning to tell you about, of course, up in the Lehigh Valley, where it has been raining for the better part of several hours now. So still a developing situation, guys. This front has been moving slowly, but it just fired up and exploded so quickly as it moved right into our region tonight.
And Kate, you mentioned the 22 and the 422. If someone knows someone who's going to be on the road or who is on the road at this hour, what do you tell someone who's driving who can't get into that interior room or down to a basement?
That's a tough call. You know, generally speaking, the traditional tornado lore is, especially in the Great Plains, the safest thing to do is get to the side of the road, get down into a ditch if you can, get out of your car, get as low to the ground as possible. Generally speaking, people are not going to do that usually unless they see the tornado coming and what, you know, but if you're trapped in this storm right now, I would say pull over, side of the road, put your flashers on. You can protect your head, get your head down by the steering wheel, and it's never recommended to go through an overpass, because especially even if you just have damaging straight line winds, imagine these winds bowing. 70-mile-an-hour winds coming through an overpass, and it's what we call the Venturi effect. As they move through that small, narrow space, they can actually accelerate. So even though the rain may be pouring and pounding down, your best bet is likely to get to the side of the road, protect your head, head down, and hopefully you'll be safe then. We do have good news. The National Weather Service has now canceled that tornado warning for Berks County. Canceled it a little bit early, which means the rotation has diminished. Still a very, very dangerous severe thunderstorm moving through Berks County, but it is no longer a tornado warning at this hour. That doesn't mean we won't get another one before the night is through, but the tornado warning has been canceled.
Speaking of which, when it comes to this Boeco and as it moves toward these, who's in line now to be on the lookout?
Well, everybody. I mean, you can see this line is extending from the Poconos all the way down to Lancaster County. Now, this particular cell will be moving quickly into Lehigh County. It'll be moving into Northampton County. The southern edge of this so far has not been severe. That's what you see moving into Lancaster County right now. And you can kind of see that because we don't have those dark purple colors there in Lancaster County and York County that we do here over Berks County, which is where the heaviest rain, the threat for hail, and the strongest winds are. So once again, our severe thunderstorm watch, which is in effect till midnight, is only for the north and west parts of our region. Here's where it's located. And this is a clear indication that it does look like as this line moves east into the overnight hours, it is going to weaken. But if you're in any of these counties, if you're in Chester County, if you're in Berks County, Montgomery, Bucks, the Lehigh Valley, or the Poconos, you'll have to be on alert at least until midnight for severe thunderstorms, possibly another tornado warning, and also flash flooding. Yuki and Jessica.
Okay, you stand by. We're going to have more coverage of this, our latest bit of weather, latest round of weather here on Eyewitness News. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back at 11 o'clock. Until then, let's send you back to regular programming.